this theme of the power of love or some shit.
Yeah, that. They tried to do that even in the first Matrix, but it was a lot less cringy.
Oh, yeah.
It was at the end and it was quick. But this is kind of the theme of this movie, which I thought was unnecessary, but okay.
It kind of cheapens the whole concept of the Matrix.
Absolutely.
But whatever. It's a lot of cheap shit in this movie.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Cynicism. I'm Eric.
It's your boy Dante, man, and today we're going to be doing a review on the Matrix Resurrections.
So Matrix Resurrections takes place about 60 years after the events of the last film, which was Matrix Revolutions. The Matrix is restarted and it's kind of the same shit. Neo is back in the Matrix. Apparently he actually did survive the events of the last film. And this is going to sound crazy, but it looked even crazy. He's been rebuilt.
Yeah.
In this new Matrix world, he's working as a video game designer who, within the Matrix, created a trilogy of games called the Matrix.
You hear this shit? Like this is the plot.
But the games are the exact events of the first three movies.
Yeah. Neo's in this Matrix. He is completely unknown of who he is or who he previously was or anything. It's like he has visions of the Matrix, but they almost try to make it sound like he got mental illness, like he's in therapy, and they make it sound like it was just an illusion, right? He's going by a different name here, and he looks like Neo to us as the viewer, but in that world, he has like a completely different avatar, and the same for Trinity too. Yeah, it was interesting how they did that, because you would get flashes of them, but throughout the movie, they always showed them as themselves, which I thought was actually pretty cool. This movie really gets started because of a actual human that's outside of the Matrix named Bugs, kind of doing what Morpheus did for Neo, which is they go into the Matrix and try to free these people. They stumble upon a computer program of Morpheus. It's not the Morpheus that we know, because he's actually deceased. It's a computer program pretty much of Morpheus's subconscious, trying to get Neo out of the Matrix again, which they successfully do, and then they're trying to get Trinity out of the Matrix again, which is really the bulk of the movie. They get Neo pretty early.
You already pretty much covered Neo. He kind of hitting the same beats as he did in the first movie, where he's perceiving things not quite as what they appear to be. The movie basically focuses on him trying to reunite with Trinity and get out of the Matrix again.
Well, him and Trinity, they're the same characters, but they're different people. Trinity has a life in this world. She has 2 other kids and a husband, and Neo's just this game developer, this older guy. But I'm telling you, man, what I will say is that connection from the moment they show both of them together is still there. To see them two interacting together in this world, because it's kind of not clear at first as to what's going on, or at least the aspect of them not recognizing each other as their previous selves. At least that's not clear. But that connection is there. They're like constantly around each other and they have this connection, but they don't know each other. So I guess the Matrix's whole thing was upgraded because they recognized the flaws in the last one. So they're trying to upgrade. I guess the whole theme of this one was hiding them in plain sight, because I mean, pretty much everything that they were are elements of their personalities, but they're small elements. Like Neo's still Neo, but it's like the things that made him who he was are more understated this time. Like Trinity ride bikes, but that's kind of more of a hobby. This Matrix simulation can be very sensitive, and I think that they'll reject it if it's not enough of certain realities in there or certain truths. They had to give them a lot of what their previous existence was in order to keep them happy here. It turns out that they have to have them orbit each other in order for it to work. They have to orbit but never really connect, because when they connect, that's when they shut down the Matrix, and that goes back to that power of love theme.
Niobe's appearance in here.
That practical effects was not good. When you do these de-aging or up-aging or whatever they be trying to do with these characters, it's just difficult. It felt more like Jada Pinkett trying to play an old woman than her being authentically old. She was doing that voice like, oh no. I'm like, niggas don't just sound that old when they older. Like, you know, I feel you, but it's like people that I know that are older still sound like them. They don't sound decrepit. Yeah. It was really glaring when the lady from Family Matters stood beside her, because she's authentically old.
Want that Aunt Rachel?
Yeah. Aunt Rachel. When you saw Aunt Rachel compared to Niobe, I was like, see, they fucked up. Because now I can see that this woman is clearly old, and that is prosthetics. It was cool to see her her, and I thought even her role in the movie made sense, like to see her be the leader and be more cautious, and all of that was cool, but it was like, nigga, the effects was just taking me out of it. Every time they showed her, just, Neo, how you doing?
So takeaways, you know, this is more of a Warner Brothers problem I have, I think, than like a Matrix movie exclusively problem.
The self-promotion?
Self-promotion, they make it known that they self-aware of what they doing, but they keep doing it. It's what pisses me off. Right. We know the Matrix is one of their like biggest, most successful franchises. It's like they keep trying to milk and take advantage of that. When they first make a joke out of it in the movie, it's like, oh, hi. But then it's like they doing what they making a joke out of. Right. And that's when it gets annoying to me because like they ran that whole multiple scenes from the first movie. And then on top of that, it's not even done as well as the first movie.
I feel like people think meta is the automatic, the end all be all fix. Like they think that as long as you're self-aware that you can get away with being cliche. Yeah. Especially when they do it as much as this movie does it. It is not even a joke anymore. Now it's just like y'all building a movie off of cliches, but just telling us about it.
I thought the concept of Neo being a game designer and recreating the Matrix, that video game, I thought that idea was great.
Same.
It could have just been so much. It could have been executed so much better in this movie, man. Even when we saw the game, it was just straight scenes from the movie. I'm like, why couldn't they like revamp this and make it look like an actual game instead of us watching scenes from a 20-year-old movie?
That's fair. This movie literally replays scenes from the original Matrix. The problem I have with that is that you almost using it as like a crutch. Like you said, it's like it's an excuse to not be inventive. Like, oh yeah, remember when we did this cool shit that one time? There was literally a scene where Neo was, it was almost like he was at a Matrix movie. He was just kind of standing around while they played scenes from the first Matrix on a big screen. And it's like, dude, this is not much of a scene if you take that away, there's absolutely nothing happening right now. And that's what I really have a problem with. That's a cheap cop-out in a movie, is to actually lean that heavily on your previous property. Like you said, they're recreating a lot of the scenes that we've seen before, the iconic scenes, that Trinity scene, which is probably one of the most iconic from the first Matrix, that intro scene, and it's not done as well. It's like, dude, what the fuck? I don't want to see the same thing I saw already done worse. And then that Morpheus shit was just glaring. I mean, they showing scenes with Lawrence Fishburne there. Then you got this movie's Morpheus, which has our boy in it, but it's just very off-putting to see that because everybody else is the same. Like Neo is still Neo, Trinity is still Trinity, but Morpheus is this guy.
Even the way that Keanu Reeves was fighting in this movie, just like he can fight. He is very capable of delivering compelling hand-to-hand combat scenes. Like he's a martial artist. I just felt like they limited some of his fighting scenes. Yeah. It was just a lot of Matrix wavy moving objects.
They relied a lot on bullet time. They relied a lot on slow motion. And I mean, the movie is known for that. It set the style for that, but it was just,
it was done well.
Yeah, because I felt like in the previous films, it was used more as an enhancement. This felt like the primary thing for, like that shit Neo was doing with his hands. I was like, bro, I hate this.
This ain't just nostalgia goggles. Like visually, the way that those scenes were executed in those previous movies, it was just done better. There was a lot more string work done in there too, which made it look better. It seemed like it was more effort and time put into like the sequence in which the fight scenes were delivered. This one just felt just very lazy to me, man. Maybe like a couple of scenes stand out to me, like when they running from the agents and a girl Bugs was like jumping off the building. That shit look pretty dope. The scene when they running through the different doors, that was cool looking too. I mean, they few and far between it when it comes to like memorable standout scenes.
So I'll say this. I like the Neo and Trinity element. I thought that was great. To me, it's probably the heart of the movie. But you could still did that and maybe downplayed it a little bit. The introduction of some of these newer characters, I was feeling that. Like the girl Bugs, I really liked her character and I really liked her design. It had that anime looking feel and a lot of them looked like that. Like it was like almost a scene out of an anime. I thought when the movie first started that it was going to be more of an integration between the old and the new, but it wasn't. It was
they were very forgettable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Characters outside of us were very forgettable.
But see, they didn't lean into that because they leaned too much into the previous films. That's what I'm saying. If they would have actually invested into those characters a bit more, I think you would have had a better movie. Instead of letting these new characters that look cool, that look interesting, instead of writing good dialogue from them, they're just there. You know what I'm saying? But I think the movie, if it would have blended the two worlds, this movie would have been a lot better. If we would have got to know, because I mean, you're not investing invested in nobody but Neo and Trinity for real. Did we talk about the effects? Like, we did. We touched on it.
Yo, speaking of the effects, what was up with that? You know, Neil Patrick Harris, he was the analyst, right?
Yes.
You know the effect he used when he was like, I guess, bypassing bullet time? Why did that shit look so dated?
Yeah.
Like, it looked very late 90s. Was that intentional? I'm assuming that was intentional.
I don't think it was.
Did you notice that? Did it?
Yeah.
It's like we technologically took several steps backward.
Which is crazy because the Matrix itself set technological standards. It was like the leading the new school in a lot of technology.
I guess it was to distinguish it from bullet time.
Yeah.
I guess they had to use a different effect because he was like circumventing bullet time faster than bullet time.
Yeah.
But that shit looked very dated.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if that was an intentional effect or not. I couldn't tell.
Maybe they were going for something and it just didn't end up well in the execution. Because I do believe it was intentional, but maybe they didn't know how glaring it would look. And yeah, right. Too late to change it. Right. You had something to say about Agent Smith. That guy.
You know, those are some big shoes to fill.
Yes.
And when I realized that that's who he was supposed to be, I was immediately disappointed.
Dude, me too.
You know, the dude ain't do bad, like the actor, like he just not Hugo Weaving.
Yes.
You know, I mean, who is?
Yeah, exactly. For what it's worth, I mean, Lawrence Fishburne too, man, iconic in these movies. It just was hard. It was hard to watch them be replaced because those are two major characters. You could have replaced Niobe, nobody would have gave a damn. But Trinity, Neo, Morpheus, Agent Smith are the Matrix. Like really, for real, those are the iconic characters that you think of. So Yahya Abdul playing Morpheus was a lot less glaring because I felt like he had presence, he had the voice, he was trying to mimic that. Yeah, this dude was just trying to, he was doing him. Like, he was just doing him and said he was Agent Smith. He wasn't even trying to sound like him or nothing.
I read that, you know, the guy did not want to try to imitate, you know, Hugo Weaving. He didn't want to impersonate him, or he kind of, I guess, wanted to make it a fresh new take or something.
Yeah.
It's just hard to do in a role like that. Everybody is always going to be comparing it to the original. I think that's the biggest problem when it comes to doing sequels like this. It's inescapable, the comparisons to the original.
And when they make it so much a point of the movie too, it won't even let you get your mind off of the original movies.
And I think about like sequels that come like way after, like, you know, like Blade Runner or like The Incredibles, where they continue the story and it's not just retreading previous plot.
Right.
You have the original, but then the sequel, it adds to the original.
Yeah.
I don't like when they just retread and it don't offer any like fresh takes on it.
Yeah. The thing that I will say is that I didn't have a bad time watching this movie. I still enjoyed myself. It was solid enough for me to enjoy it, and I honestly thought that this movie had elements in it that I really wish that they would have made the primary focus. Like you said, the whole thing about Neo being a gamer, that Matrix within a Matrix thing, I thought that was kind of brilliant, honestly, and it was a great way to pick up the story, and it brings you in immediately because you're like, well, first of all, how are these characters even still here?
Yeah.
So that's already a good place to start. You already got the viewer's attention, and then you just build upon that with these new characters, build this new world, and lean into it. But instead, like you said, it just rehashed a lot of the old, and that's where this movie suffered. There were elements that they could have made so much better, man, that I think could have been weighted. Because that last scene of this movie actually meant nothing. It was just it was just a jumble of mess. I hated it actually.
Being the 1-2 whatever that is. I don't know, but pulling abilities out her ass, like what? What is that? She
absolutely
never displayed those capabilities before.
Absolutely not. When the movie did that, I was like, wow, really? And then, first of all, that effect of them dangling like that shit looked so on a string, it was ridiculous. They didn't even look like they were flying. They literally looked like they were hanging from some shit like this. I was like, what the fuck? They just gonna hang there? They're not gonna move or nothing?
Then just go on to the next
right. I didn't like that at all. Because like you said, it didn't even in this movie, even if you didn't do it in the trilogies, you could have showed elements early, like maybe she moved a cup by accident, or it could have been minor things.
Straight to the flying.
Yeah, I was like, what? She was like, it's not me flying, because Neo can't fly in this movie. Apparently he lost all his powers, but Trinity got powers she never had before. People was waiting for Neo to fly and all of that. They telegraphed it.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, we heard you could fly and all that. He's like, yeah, I can't really do that no more.
I understand they ain't want want to be too predictable, but
shit, you already done rehashed all of that. Oh, you might as well. That is one rehashment that should have actually taken place.
Right.
That's in line with the character.
What can I say? Didn't think it was going to ever top the originals, but I thought it was going to at least be something new, something fresh. And I was I was very disappointed just from the storytelling. Like, they had some cool ideas, like with the whole Neo being a game designer. It was very modern take on his character. That whole little plot point just kind of got thrown out the window.
Yeah.
And I wish it hadn't, because I thought that would have made for a much more interesting movie. It was cool to see him and Carrie-Anne Moss together again on the big screen. They are like one of the most iconic duos of the past 20 years. So it was awesome seeing them again. I wish it would have been in a different movie. Overall, I thought the movie was moderately entertaining. I didn't hate it. I'm going to have to give it a 6 out of 10.
My expectations for this were a little bit lower. And the reason for that is the first Matrix I love. Reloaded is, I would say, is a solid movie, and then Revolutions I actually hated. So I think it progressively got worse, and because of that, my expectations progressively got lower. So with them rebooting this franchise, I was very skeptical. I thought we were going to get a horrible movie. So I think I was expecting the worst, and we didn't get that. We got a movie that was doing the safe thing. It took a safe route, because I think they're aware of how people feel about that last Matrix movie. I think that's the general consensus. So they went the safe route. They rebooted what people love, right? Which can be a pro and a con. For people like me and Eric, I really would prefer you do something new and fail than do something old and fail. And they kind of did something old and failed-ish in this movie. It's so lazy, man, to take elements of a previously known franchise and literally just show them to people. I wouldn't have minded if they would have talked about it some, but to actually literally let scenes of this movie be them showing us scenes of the Matrix, I couldn't believe that they did that. I'm gonna be really honest with you. With that being said, I did enjoy myself with this movie. It was great to see Neo and Trinity. They were solid. That chemistry is still there. I love that. Any scene that they were in, I was 100% invested, even though I wasn't invested in this entire movie. I was invested in them. I just wish that they had some cool elements, man. And that's like the worst part sometimes, is when you see a movie that has potential, but they keep going the safer route. And it's like, damn, man, with these new characters, this new Matrix, it was a lot of things that they could have done there, man, that they just they copped out. And I wish that they wouldn't have done that. It would have been a much better movie if they would have leaned into some of the more interesting, newer elements. I'll probably give this about a 6 as well. I think a 6 is fair, given the egregious rehashment of the original Matrix trilogies. I think that that's fair.
Having said all that, I like to amend my score. I want to give this a 5. Because it was a very big movie. All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning into our review of the Matrix Resurrections. I'm about Revelations.
Right. It's all these something.
Right. As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And if you have any suggested reviews you'd like to see us do, don't forget to drop a comment below. If
you guys have seen the Matrix Resurrections, please let us know what you thought. How did you feel about the rehashment of the original Matrix movies? Lawrence Fishburne and Hugo Weaving was certainly missed by us. How do you guys feel about them being replaced in this movie? And I guess overall, how did you feel about it? We appreciate y'all, man.
Thank y'all.
Peace.